What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. The book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father. It's at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. The link will be in the description box below as usual. This one's entitled Child Support Armchair Quarterbacks. Um, Sometimes people who don't have children or people who benefit off of their children try to play armchair quarterback as if they know what they're talking about. And it's no disrespect because some people are just speaking out of ideals, and other people are speaking just to convolute the issues and make things look more difficult because they don't want to. They want to be honest and be truthful. So this is why I'm having this discussion on this one. Now there are people who don't have children. One of the excuses is, if we don't want to pay child support, you shouldn't have got her pregnant, or you should have married her, or or maybe y'all should have had an abortion. See, this is armchair quarterbacks. Because first and foremost, there are people who have an unprotected sex. That's first and foremost. So the responsibility if you just out there having unprotected sex is really on both parties. So you both at fault. But there are other people who are having protected sex, whether one person's on a pill or the guy uses condoms, and a pregnancy occurs. There are people who've had their tubes tied, you know, who wind up getting pregnant. It happens. Um, as you saw, they had the baby with the IUD in it. The baby came out with the IUD in his hand. People who do that still have babies. Um, and there are also people who just lie. Just say they're taking birth control or are taking birth control and get off it to get pregnant. So you have to know the circumstance and situation which the person was in because, you know, that's where you start figuring out what's really going on in that situation. The second thing is, the other thing about like, you can have an abortion. See, that's something women can say that men probably can't say. Like men don't have reproductive rights. So though there are instances where a guy can talk a woman into having an abortion, that's not the majority. That's very much so the minority, and most guys don't want to have that conversation because you know you start to look at you just don't want to deal with that. It's just the backlash is just ridiculous, you know. So people who don't have kids, and some of y'all who had unprotected sex and did all of these things, just because you haven't had kids yet, you've done the same things that these other people who wind up having kids have done. So to act, you just you just got off, you got lucky. That's all that happened. Don't act like you did something special some of these times because that wasn't the case. So we're gonna get into this a little bit further. Now we got the people who are, well, you need to just take care of your responsibility. That's it's a good point. But you be an armchair quarterback on this because if a person is can take care of the responsibility without the court being involved, then you don't ask the question of, well, why did they involve the courts? Because in your ideal mind, you're thinking that, oh, well, if a person gets another person pregnant, blah blah blah. Why didn't you do that? Oh, I got to go back. Sorry. Then you have to go to the point where you shouldn't have got the person pregnant. I did that part, but you should marry him or be with him. Well, depending on the type of relationship these people had, the trust may be gone during the pregnancy. This is why a lot of people break up during pregnancies because the actual meat of the situation comes out during the pregnancy. So a lot of times you have people get pregnant and they're not trying to work with the other parent. You know, if you knew what was going on, you would know the stories of people saying, oh, I'm too much pregnant, I'm gonna put you on child support. You didn't even have the baby, so that means your mindset was you meant to do it. You wouldn't then you get those conversations with people like, well, I got you for 18 years, and you're gonna do this, and this. So when you're in that position as a man, you don't want to marry somebody like that. You don't want to be in a relationship with somebody like that. But when that situation rears its head, or when somebody tells you you're not the father of the child, you know that changes the whole dynamic. But when you're an armchair quarterback, you just act like, oh, that I didn't know that. I was just going on some ideal in my mind. But if you don't really know the complexity of the situation, and sometimes it's not complexity, it's just people just don't like telling other people their business. That's all it is. Now, getting back to it, now you got to deal with the facts of the trust being gone. So now, when somebody tells you, the trust is over with, we got to go our separate ways, we'll be parents. That doesn't work out that way because sometimes, as people have often said, these children are pawns. You know, it has nothing to do with money per se, because if you really want to know the truth of it, it's easier when the two parents are responsible to not be on child support because you're probably going to get more help. It's going to be easier on your lifestyle because you'll be switching the baby between two households. Um, the financial part will be straight. You might wind up getting more some months and less some months, but it'll be more of a fair exchange. You actually, if you're a single mother, you're actually going to be able to have a dating life because the relationships with the child's father actually is conducive to you actually moving on. But when you child support armchair quarterback, you don't realize you just saying, oh, baby's here, you need to get paid every month. Which, if that's what you got if that's what you got in for it for, that's what you're gonna get. Now, then you got the people who will say the things like, I don't see the problem. You need to, I got kids. My kids' fathers pay child support, but see, you didn't tell the people the complete story. You didn't tell the people why your children's father's paying child support. You didn't tell them how much. You didn't tell them what you're actually doing with the money. You didn't tell them that they're paying child support and you just bought a new car with that money, and then you send the kid to the father with nothing, and they actually have to buy the child clothes, shoes, books, food. Every now and then pay your light bill or stuff like that because in the beginning this is the type of stuff that these ladies do. So it's disingenuous. You have to get the kids grooming done. You have to pay their insurance. You know, because some of these you don't tell people that you might bail out of insurance, you might bail out of all these other situations, but because you have custody, quote on that you getting paid for this. Armchair quarterbacks don't realize, oh well, if you actually was gonna work with somebody, maybe it'll be better. Well, the problem that you armchair quarterbacks have is you never took into consideration these guys are learning from experience that they actually tried all this stuff that you're talking about they need to try, and they know who they're dealing with, what's going to happen, because they've been down that road numerous times before. And when you say, oh, well, this time is going to be different, they've been down to this time is going to be different road too. But you're stuck in your ideals. Now the problem with that is for you guys who don't have children, who believe in these ideologies, we've seen it all too often that what winds up happening is you wind up having a child or you wind up getting somebody pregnant, and then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off. It ain't exactly what you thought. Um, for these young ladies who find themselves pregnant and in this experience, they wind up going from 1 minute of what they're not going to do and how they're going to be this way and how they're going to be that way to immediately knowing all the advantages they have in the family court system and using them pretty much to the full extent. So that's why these child support armchair quarterbacks are disingenuous, because the minute it's them, all the points that they were making for and against these arguments, they know them all in totality now, and also they implement them in totality now. So that's just my opinion on that. I'm done with this one. Talk to you later.